Manchester United 3, Leicester 0. We have quite a lot to unpack in this video. Without any further ado, let's analyze. All right, so let's get started with this tactical analysis video. First, by talking about Leicester. I know that they are not doing well this season, but it's a fatal mistake not to consider the strengths and weaknesses of the opposition. And Leicester are a classic case of a sword and shield. The shield is that they are quite adept at defending on the front foot due to their high-intensity press. Sword, if you are disorganized at the back, they can hurt you with pacey players like Jamie Vardy and Patson Daka. So let's see how that unfolded. So first, the way they press, as you can see here, they have a clear pattern under Ruud van Nistelrooy. They press with one of the forwards, and then one of their wing backs goes on the opposing wing back, like here with Patson Daka and Justin. And then they replicate the same thing on the left-hand side with Bilal Al-Khannous going in on the ball carrier, and then Christensen, who's going to go onto the opposing wing back. So, of course, this method of pressing is actually quite intense. And, of course, it makes it hard for the opposition to build up from the back, especially a team like Manchester United. And we have to admit it, we are not really the most adept of teams when it comes to building up from the back. So here, Soumaré, of course, intercepts the ball ahead of Bruno Fernandes. And Ndidi is able to, in that same sequence, to play a through ball towards Vardy, who could have scored that, should have scored, if we are being honest, if it was not for that stop, that save from Onana. Now, this is the sword phase of their play as they intercept a ball from Casemiro. As you can see, we are in a situation where many of our players are overcommitted in the forward areas, and that's the kind of environment where Leicester thrives. So, of course, a through ball into space. This should have been a mistake. Why didn't the referee blow the whistle? A foul from Vardy on Lindelof. But these kind of situations, this is where Leicester thrives. You know, plenty of space to run into for the likes of Vardy and Buonanotte. And then here, of course, the Ligt is going to pull one of the... Guys, this is an NBA style block. Yao Ming style. Amazing. What a great signing the Ligt has been for us this season. And here's another sequence, again, from a build-up phase for Leicester. Again, many Manchester United players are committed. They're going to go with the long ball into space, into our own half. And then we needed an intervention from heaven. Pun intended. What a great signing he's been. I mean, where did this guy come from? What a great performance from heaven. I really pray that his injury is not a serious one, and that we're going to see him in a Manchester United shirt soon again, okay? Now, of course, how did Ruben Amorim adapt to that? Well, you may have noticed that in the first half, Manchester United did not build up from the back as often. We actually relied much more on long kicks from Onana. As you can see here, Onana talking to both Heaven and De Ligt, signaling to them that they need to push forward. And of course, they're going to oblige because he wants to go for a long kick. And in this particular sequence, we were actually quite successful. You know, Diogo Dalot, you can criticize him, but he's actually good in the air. He's quite tall. He knows how to use his body. And then, of course, both Christian Eriksen and Hojlund are close to each other. That means when that ball eventually drops, the Sharks are there to collect it. And so we were able, due to sequences like these, to progress the ball from our goalkeeper to the opposition's final third, and bypass their press. So in effect, we kind of nullified their shield. But of course, this Leicester team are still quite dangerous, and we needed to bring our A game. As you can see here from Ugarte, who identifies Ndidi here as a possible threat. So he accelerates and he does his best long busting run in order for him to clear that ball. So we really had to bring our A game, you know, the likes of Heaven and De Ligt, and of course Ugarte, as well as Bruno Fernandes in this sequence, who's able to win the ball in midfield. Again, captain, leader, talisman. He was again great in this game. I'm not surprised. He's absolutely world class. But then the magic happens immediately after. If you remember my previous video of our the breakdown that I made of our game against Real Sociedad, I showed a sequence similar to this where Bruno Fernandes had the ball and Hojlund made the right run, but Bruno did not play the ball. And then here, when this happened, I was screaming at 3 a.m. in the morning. Well, a little bit more than that, 3:30 then, okay? At my screen, I was like, Bruno, you better play that pass. You better play that pass. And then, of course, he played that pass, that run into the space of Hojlund. This is where Hojlund thrives. He's a goal poacher. He's not a target man. And then when Hojlund found himself in this situation, I was praying, you better score that. You better score that. And he did score that. Oh, pork chop. Love you, man. I'm so happy that he actually scored that goal. So, again, another thing that I showed you in that breakdown for that game against Real Sociedad is how Ruben Amorim is actually adapting his system from a 3-4-3 system into more of a 3-1-3-3 kind of system by playing Bruno Fernandes further ahead of either Casemiro or Ugarte, who in effect are the sole defensive midfielders. So in effect, we do have a diamond in the build-up, but also a diamond in the press, where we press with the, as you can see, the 3 forward players here and Bruno Fernandes. And Bruno Fernandes, I mean, he's very good at winning the ball, like he did in this sequence right here, where Eriksen ended up squandering that chance, or the sequence right here, which has led to Garnacho's disallowed goal. As you can see here, Bruno again showing his tactical discipline and intelligence. He is showing also his defensive instincts. He identifies Soumare as a potential receiver of the ball. And then again, in that diamond shape, we are kind of putting Soumare in a very sticky situation right here, and then we are able to win the ball and counter-attack. Hojlund could have had an assist and a goal in this game. He identifies that space. That's the right ball. That's a good ball. And then here, Garnacho, I can't fault him. Great composure. That's just a great play, the best play, and that's a beautiful goal, but unfortunately it didn't count. But still, case in point, the play was actually quite good and quite potent for Manchester United. Now, this is the build-up leading into the second goal, and what I want to highlight is actually Bruno Fernandes' role, because he finds himself in this situation. After we were trying to defend, we were in the defensive transition after a clearance from a corner kick in Leicester's half. Okay, so he covered all of this ground in order to help us defend, and then we eventually won a throw-in, we won the ball, and so he starts to build up in our own half. But then, of course, as you know, he's going to end up being the assist provider. So, of course, in that same sequence, now I cut most of it because it's too long, and I don't want to show you the whole sequence, it's just too long. But then immediately, he just spawns. He just spawns like those like NPCs in Metal Slug, you know? So he spawns into this area right in the half space, right outside of our own, right outside of the opposition's box. He plays the first through ball towards Mazraoui, and then a second one to Garnacho, who, of course, he was just looking for this goal because he felt that there was a bit of an injustice for that first goal that he scored to not be counted. Here, Bruno Fernandes, an honest day at the office. Very good performance from him again. But yeah, I mean, that's how a leader performs. But anyway, so we were on course to, of course, win this game. But we ended up scoring one of the best goals that we've scored this season, in my opinion. So there are a few things here. So first of all, this play right here, I know that I haven't made a breakdown analysis video on our first game against Real Sociedad, our 1-1 draw in Spain. But if you remember, Xerxes' goal was also scored because of a similar play where we won the ball in this kind of area of the pitch with the Real Sociedad players, you know, overwhelmingly on this side of the pitch. And then we spread the ball into the wide areas. And then Xerxes made his way into the edge of the box where he scored the goal. Well, this is the same thing again with Leicester. And here, Casemiro plays a very important role because, as you can see, Dalot is isolated. But for us to get him the ball, Casemiro right here, he just peels off all of the Leicester players around him in order to find space. And Xerxes is going to find him. He raises his head. And again, one thing that I said in my previous video, his passing range is extremely underrated. Like I said, when you play alongside Modric or Kroos, maybe your passing is not really going to shine. But in a Manchester United setup, he is doing very well. He's quite the playmaker. And then here, Bruno Fernandes makes his way. Diogo Dalot, that was a very good step over, very good dribble. What I love about this is that as the Leicester defenders move forward in order to clog this area right here, look at Bruno. He just stops running. He just lets them run ahead of him. He just stops, waits for the ball. Kudos to Dalot because he just found the right pass. And then, of course, kudos to Bruno because that's just an amazing smashing finish, busting the net, okay? Now, here's another thing that I like because moments later, towards the end of the game, we were in a similar situation. Only now, De Ligt is the passer and the pass was, again, going towards Diogo Dalot. But Diogo Dalot is Diogo Dalot. That's actually verbatim, quote unquote, from Ruben Amorim. He said that about Dalot. He said that about Diogo Dalot. He said Diogo Dalot is Diogo Dalot. So whatever he means with that, I think that he meant this because Diogo Dalot could not control this ball. But what I loved about the sequence is that immediately the camera pans onto Ruben Amorim, who is shaking his head. And this is very important, guys, because what this shows us is just this winner's mentality that he's got. We are 3-0 up. This is the end of the game. So by all means, he should just be satisfied. We are winning 3-0, but he's not. Because in his mind, when you are a Manchester United player, you have to be world-class in every game and in multiple times during the same game. So you cannot just think, okay, because I'm Diogo Dalot, okay, I did a very good sequence. I scored in the previous game. I assisted in this game. I've done my part. No, you have to score or assist, or at least look to do those things every single time you play for Manchester United. And I think it's this shift in culture that Ineos and Ruben Amorim are bringing to Manchester United. And this is just great to see. This was just the right reaction from Ruben Amorim. All right, let's get philosophical for a minute. Fahrenheit 451. Now, why is Mr. Scarlet Report mentioning a literature classic? Well, because there is this amazing line of dialogue where one of the characters tells the other that she pities the drivers of these jet cars, these super fast cars, mainly because they're always driving so fast that everything looks like a blur. If it's a blue blur, then maybe it's the ocean. If it's a green blur, it's grass. If it's white blur, it's houses. But they never actually get to enjoy and take in the scenery because everything is moving so fast. And I think that this describes perfectly the Manchester United fandom. Why is that? Because we are stuck in this swirl of toxicity and negativity that we never actually stop to consider the information that comes our way. Take the criticism that a lot of the Manchester United players have suffered over the past few weeks, including Bruno, including Xerxes. I mean, look, Xerxes, nobody actually stopped to ask. This guy has been amazing for Bologna last season. So what? He just came to Manchester United, took a picture with the Manchester United shirt, shaking Amorim and Jason Wilcox's hands and completely forgot how to play football. How about Hojlund? Why are people criticizing him this season? Yeah, he hasn't performed, but last season he was actually quite good and he missed, big bits of the season because of injury, and yet still his return was actually quite good. So if you think that a 70 million asset can just be discarded on loan and then just go and spending 80 million on someone like Gyökeres is the solution, I'm sorry, I'm afraid you're wrong. That's not the solution. So again, as Manchester United fans, sometimes we just get stuck in that swirl, like I said. Everything looks like a blur. What are Ineos doing, would the average Manchester United fan say, without really thinking about the fact that it's going to take a few years to fix the Glazers' mess. It's going to take some tough decisions. And of course, Ineos right now are casting themselves in the antagonist, the bad guy, the villain's role. But of course, that has to be done. Okay? So everything is moving fast at Manchester United. When you are a Manchester United fan, everything is just a mesh, a swirl of just nonsense where logic and rational thinking have no space. But this is a plea to you guys to please slow down. Guys, what's the rush? Just slow down, put the window down, get some fresh air in, play some music in your car. I don't know, like, what am I listening to now? Okay. Colors by Between the Buried and Me. Yeah, that's a great album, right? Listen to that, just take in the scenery, enjoy the ride. For you to enjoy the good moments like this patch of form that we are currently witnessing, you have to stick by the team when things don't go well. Okay, you cannot have it both ways. When things don't go well, always stop, take a step back, and just think, why aren't things working out? Where is or are the problems? Okay? And just use rational thinking and logic, okay? And please, guys, don't follow a lot of the things that are said on X. I mean, X or whatever, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. There's just cancer, guys, okay? So I hope that you've enjoyed this tactical analysis video. If you did, please give the video the thumbs up. Until next time, cheers.